So we definitely think we're in a period of what we call peak uncertainty. It's very much changing, but it's also very much expanding.
I'm Jay Trogat, Senior Editor of Clean Trucking. I'm here at ACT Expo 2025 in Anaheim, California, and today I am speaking with Nate Springer. Nate, thank you for being back with us. Remind the audience what you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Jay. So I'm Vice President of Market Development at TRC in our Clean Transportation Solutions division.
Okay.
And one of my signature projects is to publish the State of Sustainable Fleets each year. And that's where we set the record straight on what's going on in these technologies so that fleet owners have a reliable, credible resource that they can trust and understand how they're developing. And not only that, but what other fleet owners are saying about it.
Well, a lot has changed in the past year for starters.
Yeah.
So let's start with the regulatory environment. Where do you see things going?
So we definitely think we're in a period of what we call peak uncertainty, and that's in no small part because there is so much change happening at the regulatory level, also just with the technologies themselves. So we've definitely seen a difference in terms of the priorities at the federal level between this administration and the previous one, where the previous one was more promoting battery electric vehicles, and this administration is pulling back on some of those commitments. And what that means, though, is that a lot of the states and utilities and local governments are stepping up and continuing to drive and support the adoption of battery electric vehicles. But more broadly, there hasn't been necessarily a lot of changes in terms of near zero emission vehicles and the regulations applying to them, such as propane and natural gas. And it's really the zero emission vehicles that have had the most impact. But those industries, all of them, we find this year, continue to grow and expand.
Where are we at with renewable diesel, biodiesel, and traditional diesel?
There's a huge growth in supply and availability in renewable diesel especially, and a lot of fleets are showing interest in that. We do an annual survey of fleet operators. We think it's one of the only ones of its kind each year where it's technology neutral, and we found that now 40% of the survey respondents, fleet operators, are using renewable diesel in our survey.
So let's shift gears, no pun intended, into battery electric. Now, obviously, there is no nationwide infrastructure yet. We're still several years away from that happening, but there has been progress in the past year. Where are you seeing the most progress happening?
Well, what's interesting is there was certainly a lot of headlines last year about manufacturing pauses and lower build out and forecast of vehicles, and yet we saw record highs of 41,000 mostly medium duty trucks and vans, battery electric trucks and vans being delivered. And so we're continuing to see that industry grow and expand. We see new innovations and options for charging is probably the biggest area of diversity, and frankly it's almost an information overload problem now as fleets try and figure out their charging options. But we've seen almost overnight an entire industry pop up that offers hub charging, shared hubs that they can drive to, they can contract with, have a stall. The number of ports at those hubs are going to triple in just this year, and we're going to see that industry continuing to grow over the next couple of years.
So the other zero emission technology, hydrogen fuel cell. Now, things have changed in the past year. In the past, Nikola was like the big one involved in that, and we all know what happened with Nikola's bankruptcy. They're not here this year, but they're just not on the road anymore. So where are we at with hydrogen fuel cell?
Yeah, and it's a real shame because that industry saw some real highs and milestones. Nikola and one of the other fuel cell electric tractor manufacturers, Hyzon, had record numbers of sales on their books, and both of them got into some financial difficulty, and neither one of them are here right now, unfortunately. So that is an industry that is facing the greatest uncertainty. We think this, as I said, this era of peak uncertainty. And because they're at an earlier stage of development, they're more dependent on federal coordination and research and development investments. And so if we see any pausing or pullback on any of that, then they're the ones that are likely going to be most affected by it. But it's TBD. Right now, we just don't know, and we're going to have to wait and see.
But hydrogen fuel cell is certainly not dead. Obviously, Honda revealed a Class 8 concept rig here. Hyundai, they revealed an updated Exient. So again, both vehicles exist, and we'll just have to sort of like wait and see what happens with that.
Right, and they will be joined, major OEMs from Daimler and Volvo to Kenworth and Toyota, and you mentioned Hyundai, have all announced that they intend to bring hydrogen fuel cells to market. There is also later in the decade continued expectation that combustion hydrogen will offer a solution as well.
Last but not least, federal tax credits and all that stuff that in the previous administration, there was a lot of them out there, and that's going to be changing. How do you think that's going to affect fleets, OEMs?
Yeah, the funding landscape has definitely changed. Tax credits are still uncertain. We still have to wait and see what's going to happen there. We have estimated that the amount of funding nationally is going to be cut from a high of the last couple of years of about $25 billion per year to now there's $13.5 billion per year that are still available by state, local utilities, and other agencies for all the vehicles and infrastructure that we covered here. I'll put that in a little perspective for you in that historically the high used to be 5 years ago only $5 billion a year. So we're still in a very high peak funding period, not quite peak, but still very high and available incentive funding. And it's especially important for these developing markets like battery electric vehicles. It's a nice to have now for natural gas vehicles and propane because mostly a lot of those use cases have already proven that they can offer superior cost, especially fuel saving costs, and some other maintenance and other benefits as well. But incentives are absolutely here. You can call us. We are experts in navigating the incentive landscape if anyone needs help with that. We will be tracking this. We will be providing data and education to fleet operators based on fleets using these technologies and their experiences so that they have a credible source of information to go to.
Awesome, and as you can see, the show has expanded.
Plenty of people and plenty of technology here. So come next year if you're not already registered.
Awesome. Well, can't wait to see you again next year. Yep, and everyone, be sure to download the full State of Sustainable Fleets report. You can see that right now. If you have any questions, leave them for me in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.